What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the OFC podcast. It's your guy, Sai, and I am here with Hungri
Yar, who hungry?
and some special guests today. I got Sauce. Introduce yourself, Sauce.
Hey, yo, what's going on? Top of the morning.
And we got Snow in here today. What's up, Snow?
Yes, sir.
And we're talking Star Wars Visions. I just now watched it. Oh, yeah, we got Robi in here, too. He's muted at the moment. What's up, Robi?
Oh, yeah, I was waiting for you to, bring me in, buddy.
Hey,
how's it going? You Robi?
Hey, I didn't forget you, Robi. I still love you. No side doesn't, but
no, I appreciate it. Hey, Y, 4 E's, 4 R's, OBI, let's get the shit.
Hey, there we go. And we're talking Star Wars Visions. These guys are all members of the OFC Discord. So if you ever feel like being a guest on the show as well, or actually before that, how far is Star Wars
like Clone Wars? I watched a little bit of Rebels when I was a kid, but otherwise I'm clueless other than just the pop culture references and like the little things you hear here and there.
Snow, what's your Star Wars experience?
I'm pretty deep into Star Wars just because of who I am. Super nerd, writer, author. So I'm pretty deep into it. I think my favorite stuff comes out of the books, the expanded universe that they kind of got rid of, but that's where my love lies.
Word. And Sauce, what's your Star Wars experience?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty deep in it. I grew up on Star Wars, right? So it's probably like my first love in terms of like nerdy content. I've watched most of the shows. I read a lot of the expanded universe as well, like Snow. I've just been obsessed with it I was there day one when they brought episode 8 out. I mean, or 7 out rather.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, long time.
Oh, you out here? Okay. So Sauce and Snow are Star Wars insiders, and then Hungry, what's your Star Wars? How deep are you in Star Wars? Oh, he might be muted at the moment, but
no,
I know.
I'm here. Yeah, so I'm semi-deep. Like, I've watched all the movies, most of the Clone Wars, a few of the Clone Wars movies. I haven't touched Rebels yet, but I got a little bit of knowledge in my background for this. So I got some love for it, some hate for it. If you've been
as Star Wars fans do,
most people have, you got a little bit of hate for it, but I'm here for it.
And Star Wars Visions is basically a collection of shorts made by, I believe, 8 different anime studios.
One for each episode.
One for each episode, yes.
Nah, there's 2 studios that doubled up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 7. So by 7 different studios, the most famous of which being Trigger, who did Kill la Kill. They did Darling in the Franxx. Trigger's legendary.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, these are basically 9 Star Wars anime episodes that are all self-contained. So it's an anthology type series, which means there's no like overarching story or anything. These are all just shorts. And I guess if I want to get started from the first episode, that's the one that's been getting a lot of social media attention with the black and white aesthetic and the I guess the TikTok that's going viral talking about it's been a long time since I've killed a Jedi. That's a whole trend at the moment. How'd you guys feel about that episode as a whole? Because I have some thoughts.
So first, go ahead, Sue.
No, go ahead, man. You go first.
So basically, I love the episode. It was visually stunning to me. A little bit hard to read when it was in the action because you had a black and white characters and you had a red light while they were fighting, or a green or blue light depending on what part of the action it was in. But Like when you could follow like what was going on, or when I could follow what was going on, I loved it. The characters seemed like they had like a deep backstory. I wish. Well, this is an overarching theme for me. I wish all of these had more time because I feel like some just didn't have enough time to fully flesh out like characters and like stories. But for this one, I really liked it. It seemed like it knew where it wanted to go. It just needed a little bit more time with it.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, I just saying on episode 1, I really, really, really enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed the style. I watched the first 4 episodes dubbed for some reason, so I didn't have the issue with trying to follow the subtitles on the screen. So I was able to just like take everything in, and visually it was really impressive. It gave me a lot of like Afro Samurai vibes, which I really, really fucked with. Um, yeah, no, I just thought it was like a great episode just of action. I wasn't really there much for the dialogue, and thankfully they knew better than like try and give us a bunch of that in this episode at the very least. So, no, it was really, really good. It's definitely like one of my 3 favorites of the ones I've seen.
For sure.
I liked it. I liked the animation style. I liked the little story that it told. I think one of the things, without glossing over, with kind of digging a little bit deeper, I think one of the things that was kind of interesting is that it set the tone in a way for the rest of the series moving forward. It's like, yeah, this is going to be a bunch of different Star Wars stories, but it's going to be mainly anime, mainly like a Japanese aesthetic on most of these. I think the Star Wars thing took a back seat, and I think this first episode kind of highlighted that it wasn't going to be necessarily canonical Star Wars, that it was going to be Star Wars with Japanese flair. And I think this did a nice job of kind of setting the tone.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, my bad. I was just gonna say, this art studio in particular, some people, if you really like dig in through nerdy bullshit that goes around, they did Batman Ninja. They animated
Yeah, they
Batman
did.
Ninja, which is very
okay.
similar aesthetic, like also way out in the next universe, which I like a lot. I mean, I thought they took a pretty interesting take on like Star Wars in general. I also agree it set the tone of like this isn't your everyday ordinary Star Wars, right? Like this is going to be an anime idea of what Star Wars could be, and like it changed my overall feeling, of like the rest of the series.
For sure. And I think I also enjoyed it for what it was. I definitely felt like it got tropey at times. It felt kind of like that middle section where the kid stands up and his dad is sick. It felt kind of uninspired to me. I feel like I've seen that in a lot of anime before, but that might be the anime fan in me. And I guess it's definitely new for Star Wars. So that part is good. And the art style was amazing. The voice acting, and I watched it dubbed. The voice acting was pretty dang good. The katana lightsaber was super cool.
So sick.
People are so mad at the umbrella lightsaber. I don't care. That shit was cute. I liked it. Yeah. But I guess I don't know if we should go through all the episodes because I was not a fan of episode 2, for example. So I don't just want to sit here and shit on it. But maybe we can just go through and talk about our favorite episodes. Say that again.
I was saying, listen, if you need someone to speak positively about episode 2, I can do that.
Oh, yeah, I liked episode 2. Yeah,
I enjoyed it a lot.
Episode 2 is the band one, right?
It's not good dubbed, but
no. And I sat through that, and I still enjoyed it, even in spite of that. So,
yeah, episode 2 is the band one.
Yeah, I so that's the thing.
My problem with episode 2,
I don't know. There just wasn't much story there.
It felt like it was just like him being a Jedi made no sense to me. Like for that story, like you could have just been anybody. Like him being a Jedi, just like I don't understand why it was needed for him to be a Jedi for the story.
Did him being a Jedi change anything since it wasn't really relevant at all?
That's the problem. Like I don't like him being a Jedi. Just like it, I felt like it should have tied into the story a little bit more if they were going to show that he was a Jedi. Like, but I just been. Oh, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I think to me the purpose of it isn't that he's a Jedi. It's that like all of these stories are different, right? So like just because he's a Jedi doesn't mean he has to go save the world. Like, why does he have to do that just because he's a Jedi? He doesn't have to. And maybe he wasn't very good at it. Like, you get introduced to him kind of getting his shit rocked. So, like,
Kinda.
I mean, maybe he wanted to go do something else. Maybe he was like, man, this Jedi shit, it ain't for me.
Yeah, no, by the time we got to him, he literally couldn't wield his lightsaber anymore. So, yeah, like that kind
So
of stuff is
I
going
just,
what that episode was going to be.
right. I think it was supposed to be like you're not locked into whatever it is that the world has given you at, off jump. So like, why does the Hutt have to go and be a Hutt, right? Like he doesn't. He wants to be a rock star. All of these guys are people who probably had a different path and decided that they wanted to do music instead.
See,
Yeah, I love a good
that's why I
I
like
Miss
talking
the
with
Toys
different people
episode.
because I would have never got that.
Yeah,
Me
yeah. I
either.
feel that.
Because my big issue, it was like they relied on the power of friendship a lot. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't have enough time with any of these characters to care about their friendship enough. So it just didn't really hit like that for me. And that's why I didn't really super enjoy episode 2.
No, yeah, they definitely could have. I mean, it's difficult with the time constraint, but it would have hit a little bit harder if they'd done a better job of exposing us to all of the characters in the band and giving us a bit more of all of their backstories and endearing us a little bit to them. But it's hard to do that in 15 minutes.
For sure.
I enjoyed what they gave us, though.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like some of these stories just weren't meant to be shorts. Like this one doesn't feel like it was meant to be short. Like there wasn't like a purpose that was being told over the course of the 15 minutes. I feel like whoever made this script wanted it to be longer and just didn't have that time.
I mean, I don't know how much you guys are into like short films and especially compilations of short films, but that's kind of like, to me, that's kind of the beauty of a short film is that it doesn't get all the time to tell you everything like point by point by point so you follow it. Sometimes it kind of like leaves some things for your own interpretation because it doesn't have a choice. And I think that is the feeling that all of these episodes, for the most part, some of them are pretty well contained in like telling you a story, but for the most part they give you something to like kind of chew on afterwards so you can think about like that the episode 2. It took me like I've seen it like 3 times now, and it was like the third time around when I was like really paying attention to it and I was like, I get it. Like I get what this episode is trying to tell me, and it gave me like an appetizer and was like, I know you want more, but literally this is it.
Yeah, like the purpose of the short stories, some of them, like you said, like they wrapped up nicely and they set up potentially like a really good full project if we ever got it. But some of them, no, they just came in, did what they were supposed to do, and they just kind of left you with vibes and like, okay, you just fill out the rest and like imagine the rest, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's definitely fine. And this was really the only one I watched that left me like wanting a lot more. Because I just wanted to care about these characters, and I just didn't over the course of the 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yo, so that's one of the things. If I can kind of adjust or change gears real quick, that's kind of one of the things that I liked and didn't like at the same time. The whole short episode thing. Like these are basically flash fiction in film form, short films, whatever. And some of the stories are really nice and really cool and well contained. But I think the 15 minutes, 12 minutes little range not only left me wanting more, but was a little bit off putting. Not that the stories weren't well told or told completely in their entirety, but I don't know. It was just a little jarring that each one was only like 12 minutes or 15 minutes. I would have almost argued for like half-hour ones. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a half hour would have been nicer. You could have also told the story a little bit better. I'm pretty much used to like short films being a half hour to 45 minutes. So when
Right.
when I hit this one, I was like, oh, this is a little bit weird. A good example of like it's not really short films, so to speak, but like Black Mirror is a good example of like
Oh yeah.
taking that format of telling you a bunch of stories that
that anthology.
Right, that have like a line that connects them, but it's not like a hard line. It's not like one overarching story, right? They're just telling you little bits of like, here is what is so bad about this Black Mirror thing. So I do agree. I think 30 minutes would have been the ideal runtime. I do think some of these benefit a lot from being really short. We haven't gotten to it yet, but like episode 5, I think is perfect in its
Yes.
15-minute teaser because it makes you desperately want more of that. And that is how they should leave you.
For sure. And the other strongest episode was the longer one. Again, I didn't watch season 7, but 4 is the trigger. No, 3 is the trigger one.
Yeah.
3 is the
With
first
the
trigger one.
siblings. The first trigger one with the siblings.
Yeah, the twins.
Yeah, the twins was good.
Yeah, that one was super good. And I think it was just long enough for me to feel like I see the struggle between them. I see how much he both cares for her and doesn't want to be what he was like set out to be or what he was prescribed from birth. So I thought that episode was it did a super good job at hammering its point home and giving us cool animation. And it felt the most anime and also the most Star Wars to me out of all of them.
Episode 5?
Yes.
Episode 3.
No, episode 3. The twins. Yeah, because
I guess 5 still felt the
during
most
the
Star
action.
Wars. But 3 felt the best hybrid to me.
I get that.
So I will say that 3 shockingly, my bad, real quick, just 3 shockingly is only 18 minutes. That's it. It's not
what?
the longest.
I thought it was 22.
No, the longest I think is 9th Jedi, which is episode 5.
Oh, is that the 22-minute or 24-minute?
Yeah, that's 9th Jedi.
Oh, snap.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So for me, 3 felt the most anime, but it didn't feel the most Star Wars to me. To me, it felt like they watched the prequels and then said, "Okay, I think I know what Star Wars is," and that's how it felt to me. Because like some of the logistics of it, like the power levels were off because of how and then the kyber crystal, she had a giant kyber crystal but was doing very small things, and he had a small kyber crystal but was doing major things with it, and then the whole hyperspace with the ship and stuff. Everybody's breathing outside of space.
Right.
I was like, yo,
that was
during
something that
Logon, just with
had me
kyber
feeling
crystals.
away.
Yeah, exactly. And so it felt very animated to me, but not very Star Wars to me.
That's definitely fair.
Well, I'm really curious, Snow, as a person who is into the expanded universe, I'm curious how you felt about this episode.
It was. I'm trying to be charitable.
You don't have to be charitable.
If I'm being, it was kind of. I don't want to shit on it, but it was painful.
Episode 3.
Yeah, episode 3 was painful.
Okay.
Some of my favorite expanded universe stories were actually X-Wing, some of the X-Wing books. But I think one of the biggest turnoffs for me in episode 3 was the animation style. That I find that animation style kind of off-putting. But as far as a Star Wars story goes, it was way out there for me. And like I said before, that I've read a bunch of the expanded universe, and this was really kind of, I don't want to say jarring, but it just wasn't it for me. What do you think about it?
So I totally get that. For me, this is the most anime. This is I feel like this is the version of the show that got pitched originally, was we're gonna just go anime with it, and they were like, let's hit a bunch of studios for this.
Right.
I love the idea. I like the aesthetic. I enjoyed watching it, but the minute it started, I was like, this is the anime episode. This is the one that is not gonna connect to the rest of them because it's gonna be so out there, and it is. And it's very Trigger, right? You're talking about the guys who did Kill la Kill, they did Darling in the Franxx. This is what they do. This is what I kind of expected from them. So it didn't bother me. I also like that they used the twins. I feel like it was a reference from the young adult novels that have the twins. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, okay, that's a nice little throwback to expanded universe that got taken out. It was very cool. It's not Star Wars to me, right? But if you can look at it as this is inspired by Star Wars, but it's the epitome of what this series could be, which is taking anime and giving it to Star Wars. It's great. It reminds me of Batman Ninja, right? It's so out there and so crazy, not even close to being a DC product, that I can't help but look at it and be like, "This is crazy." Like your mind is nuts for even thinking of this.
Yes, exactly. I agree with you.
I guess the part that made me feel like it was the most Star Wars was that a big thing about Star Wars is like destiny and what you're born into and family lines.
Yeah.
And it felt like this episode was like, it was Star Wars in the sense that was a big part of it, but it was not Star Wars in the sense that the end message was that stuff doesn't really matter that much. Whereas in most Star Wars, that stuff is all that matters. It's like
It has
who
the
you're pairing with.
spirit, right?
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
the spirit of Star Wars, but it doesn't have the. It definitely doesn't have the execution. It doesn't follow the rules, and it's like it has like an anime satisfactory ending as opposed to like the way
Very
Star
true.
Wars went about it. I think.
Yeah.
That is definitely a fact.
So we've kind of jumped around it a little bit as far as which stories felt more Star Wars and which felt more anime. Going around the table, I guess I had a question for you guys. So this one we think felt a little bit more anime. Which one do you think felt truly more Star Wars in an anime universe?
Ooh.
Oh, in an anime universe,
Well,
that's
like, yeah, what's felt more true to Star Wars in an anime frame?
So for me, the one that feels the most, I have two answers for this. The one that feels the most Star Wars to me is the Ninth Jedi, with one exception, and the one that feels the most Star Wars in an anime universe is the Village Bride.
Okay, I'm with you.
The only reason I say that the Ninth Jedi doesn't feel enough like Star Wars for me, the one exception I have, is the whole holding the lightsaber and then the crystal decides the color. That
Right, exactly.
I don't bang with that. Sorry, like,
Nope.
it took me out the minute and a half, and I was like, "You're lucky this is
Yeah.
the best episode because God, man, I'm mad."
So yeah, okay. I don't mean to like take everything by the reins myself, but that's another thing that was
Wow.
kind of like it didn't annoy me, but I was like, what? Not only the crystal changing to the color or changing the color based on the Jedi, but also everything I remember from any of the books I've read is part of the Jedi training was that you make your own lightsaber. And I guess we were talking about it a little bit before.
Mhm.
Was I guess that since Jedi are kind of out of the picture in that story and sabers hadn't been used for a long time, that you needed a sabersmith, but the from everything I remember, part of the Jedi training is that that's what ties you to your lightsaber is the fact that you make it yourself. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And they kind of touch on that. We're jumping around crazy now, but in episode 6 they touch on that, right? The old man Jedi sends his robot out to find a kyber crystal because part of being a Jedi is making your own lightsaber. It's supposed to mean something to you, like you said. So I think that there's the existence of sabersmiths in Star Wars. I can't think of any in particular, but I know that a big part of it, I think their job was more to train you on how to do it, not necessarily to have you do it yourself. Going back to the twins, there's a whole book in the expanded universe about the twins getting their kyber crystals, and it's like a crazy mission that they have to go on to get them. So it's like it's a really weird pull, but I also think it's supposed to be like a product of the situation. Like you said, there's not really Jedi around. They're trying to get rid of them essentially.
Mhm.
So I think it was probably more the idea of the Sith asked for them because they wanted to get rid of all the Jedi. Why not give a bunch of soldiers lightsabers, right? The Sith seem like the guys that would sell out and give a whole bunch of people weaponry.
Right.
So I kind of got that, but I agree with you. Like it's weird. That one again is to me the best episode, but it does take its own liberties, like all of the stories do, in taking their own liberties
Yeah.
with the universe.
So for
Yeah.
me, the one that felt most Jedi or most Star Wars was the episode with the like I wouldn't say dead Sith or like not dead Sith, but like the old man Sith, and then you had the Jedi and the Padawan searching for him.
Oh, the Elder.
Episode 7.
The Elder,
Episode
yeah,
7, yeah.
that one felt the most Star Wars to me. It wasn't my favorite. It was probably my third favorite out of the group, but it felt the most Star Wars to me because of like the Sith. All he wanted was power to show that he was the strongest, even in his old age, and he came to this planet just to send out a beacon to bring people to him so we can kill him. And like having the older Jedi and his Padawan kind of search for him and like the dynamic that it had between them, it felt like the most Star Wars to me.
Also,
That makes sense.
done by Trigger. That's the other Trigger episode.
Mhm.
Very good. Very weird change too from the twins to the elder. Like, what a wild difference in what they can do as a studio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a extended Star Wars extended universe question. How many liberties do they take with the rules of Star Wars usually, like with the books or anything that's in that like extended universe?
That's kind of a weird question, only because the extended universe originally was part of the canon.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so they didn't really take a lot of liberties. They established some things and made some things make sense until it all got like jettisoned out. So it's weird to answer because like some of the things that are in the extended universe that we knew as canon got just jettisoned out when Disney took it and kind of consolidated everything.
But the weird thing about that is, like the Ryan Johnson, he used the extended universe to kind of explain what he did with his movie. So it was jettisoned, but then it was kind of brought back to explain the backlash from the hate that he was getting. So it's in a
Yeah.
weird spot.
Oh, he did it he was a pussy, basically.
I mean, if we're gonna take a tangent real quick, fuck Ryan Johnson, bro. Like,
He goes
I
back- he
don't know
goes
what to
back-
tell you.
Say it again.
Like what he did to the middle of that season. I mean, like I'll take it back because he made Knives Out, and I really like that movie. But what he jumped in and did with Star Wars, I don't like. He totally changed the feeling and the vibe of Star Wars to me,
Mhm.
and you can feel it in the way like episode 1 has, or episode 7 has like an idea of what it wants to do. It may be one of those situations where we're looking at you kind of retelling the story, like recreating the wheel, and that's fine. But like, I think generally people that wanted Star Wars back pretty desperately were fine with it. And then you
Mhm.
take us into this episode, you take us into the fucking Space Witch episode where everything gets turned on its head. A whole bunch of weird shit just happens for no
Yeah,
reason.
exactly.
Like, what
Mhm.
is this casino? It's a reference to the extended universe again, but they did it poorly, like straight up, and it had no purpose. There's so many liberties that he took, and then his excuse was like, "Well, they brought me in and they let me kind of rewrite things, and this is what I saw for the story." And then you have all you can do in episode 9 is try to fix things at the beginning and try to make it all make sense at the end, and it doesn't work. I mean, they
Mhm.
scrambled, right? So I don't know. Like, I agree. He took a lot of liberties, and a lot of the liberties that he took, you could have made the comparison to some of the stuff in the extended universe, but he took liberties with the extended universe too. So it's kind of a cop out.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I guess the reason that I was asking that was just because I was wondering if this is like a norm for Star Wars. Because when I watch Clone Wars and I watch Rebels, it seems like all those things can exist in the rules of Star Wars. Like the Star Wars has some like concrete rules about, especially about the lore of like Jedi specifically,
Mhm.
and I
And
guess
Sith,
Sith as well.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're very, very established. I mean, it's pretty. I don't know if you played the Old Republic
Kotor?
online game at all. Yeah, Snow,
Kotor?
but like, or any of you guys really.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I have.
it's crazy that I still feel like that game took less liberties with the universe than Episode 7 or Episode 8 did.
Oh, bro, it was so strict to the universe. It was wild because, like, even the characters they brought in that like were like characters for the game, they were like locked dead to the rules that were established in the main canon. And then I spoke with people while I was playing it, and they're like, "Yeah, that's pretty true to form to the extended universe." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Damn." So just
Yeah,
depends on
I don't know.
who's running the ship, I guess.
Yeah, but speaking of liberties, kind of to get us back into the vision topics, uh, Robi or Sai, do you have any opinions on which one feels the most Star Wars for you guys?
I definitely okay. So Clone Wars is my favorite Star Wars media, and Episode 4 felt a lot like Clone Wars, where it was like very political, and there was a lot of like, I guess a lot of the stories in Clone Wars are like usually Anakin and Ahsoka or some other Jedi coming into a place and either brokering peace or forcing the adversary out of some place that they have either colonized or somehow else exploited that land. And so I felt like that episode, it gave me a lot of Clone Wars vibes. I don't know if it feels the most Star Wars. I'd probably just say episode 5 feels the most Star Wars, but that one gave me Star Wars vibes as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would agree with Simon. I would say that, either episode 5 or 4, like he said, feel the most like Star Wars to me, just because of, kind of the way that they structured the episodes for Rebels in the early 2000s, and then for Clone Wars, which are the two Star Wars properties I've seen the most. It felt a lot like that. And then as for the one that I would consider to be the most anime within a Star Wars frame, I would probably say TOB1, just
Yeah.
because it had a lot of that, student master dynamic, that coming of age dynamic, master passes, impatient student has to, get thrust out into the real world really quickly and have a moment where you either sink or swim. And then next thing you know, he's out and exploring and adventuring. And that feels really anime to me. And it was also an episode I didn't expect to enjoy that episode that much. I enjoyed it a lot. It's probably top 4 for me. So I enjoyed TLB1 a lot.
That's if anybody doesn't know the title of the episode, it's episode 6.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
so I call it the Astro Boy episode because he was giving me mad Astro Boy vibes.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
for
And I
sure.
was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I fucks with this.
Yeah,
But,
that's another example of like taking a kind of liberty with the Star Wars universe in like this is very much so like a very clear droid, and like here he is, essentially becoming this crazy Jedi master that does all kinds of crazy stuff, right? Taking some liberties in a sense. But I think that they nailed it. Like it's
Yeah.
a very cute episode. It's probably to me, it's the one aside from the Ninth Jedi that has like the most emotional moment. Because you get the establishment of like a family, like a father-daughter dynamic, and then into TOB1 with essentially the same thing with a father-son dynamic, but like a Astro Boy type son. But I think it worked really well. I really liked it. It's also, again, the one that, like, I agree. It has such a heavy Star Wars like theme to it that works perfect, right? Like you said, a young Padawan that's restless, wants all these things, and then gets thrust into a situation and has to like become a Jedi kind of thing. I really like that one.
Yeah, and in the midst of the action, like I don't know if it was like a dreamscape or what, but the scene where Mitaka knighted him and then I gave him his name, Toby, officially. Like that's something that I felt like was a moment that really kind of melded two things you'd see in both universes together really well. I thought that was really cool.
Damn, I forgot about that scene too. Yeah, that was really good. That's
Yeah,
a
that was
really
cool.
good episode.
Yes, it
to
is.
kind of jump back to episode 4, one thing like for me, I'm a big logistics kind of guy, and so I like things like, so I know in the new Star Wars, like catching a blaster ray midair is like, they said it's like one of the hardest things to do, and so to see like multiple people throughout the series catching blaster rays midair kind of threw me off because I was like, how are all these powerful Jedi just out there and nobody's ever heard of them, talked about them, kind of thing. And so just logistically, I don't know if it takes away for it, but for me, it's just like, I feel like there should have been a little bit more like research, or I don't know the best way to say it, but a little more like look into.
Yeah, they
like,
could have done their due
logistically.
diligence on that, like to see how common that actually is, like in the universe prior to now. For sure.
Because
I
just
get
like
what you're saying.
with people breathing in space, I'm like, I don't think many people be breathing in space like you think they do.
Right.
That
Yeah,
one,
that
the breathing in
and the
space one
twins
is
was
still the
really
most
kind of
egregious one.
disorienting, but I let it rock because
But it happened in
it felt super anime, so I was like,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead, yeah, get your shit off. But I don't know. It didn't really detract from episode 4 for me because I don't know. I just like that's one of my 2 or 3 favorite episodes. I really, really enjoyed it because it felt really Star Wars. It gave me a lot of Clone Wars vibes, like Simon said. It also kind of felt like, I don't know, like an episode of Samurai Champloo. Like they just kind of wandered into this village and kind of cleaned up whatever villains were there. It was really, I could definitely see a series going on like that, just really episodic like that, with not a completely linear plot, just like kind of a plot map that eventually gets to a point at
Yeah.
the end of a series. But no, I really enjoyed that. I'd like to see more of that in the future, hopefully.
You know what that episode does? I figured it out. It's like the crossroads between where Star Wars and anime meet really well. Because like
Mhm.
there's a lot of samurai martial arts vibes in Star Wars. Like I'm sure that I don't know if that's a purposeful thing, but it definitely feels that way. Where it's like there's the student and the master, and the hero's journey is very linked to martial arts movies, kung fu movies, that type of thing. So
Mhm.
Star Wars has that feel to it. And so when you bring that type of story in where they're going in and they're doing things that like in anime a group of samurai or a samurai and his student will go and do, it feels the most true to both of them in terms of plot direction, at least.
And plus, it's dealing with like 15 different themes all at once, all within a span of like 16 minutes, like family, loss, regret, sacrifice,
Yeah.
guilt, revenge, all these things all at once, and it does it really well in like 16 minutes.
That's why I kept saying they needed more time because like this
Yeah.
one I felt like it could have been a whole series and
Oh,
it would
yeah.
have been like great. Just a few logistic things, but yeah, it would have been great.
Yeah, you just give me like the female samurai champion. I would have been all over that. Give me 24
Mhm.
episodes of that, please.
Yeah,
Hell
for
yeah.
sure.
I'm there. All right, now to
For
episode
sure.
5, everybody's favorite. Oh, I love this episode.
Yeah, it
that
was so
episode
great.
is
The greatest
crazy.
episode.
It was so great. It was, man, it was like a perfect expository episode. Like I realized it was a little bit longer than a lot of the other episodes, so it got a bit more time, but man, did they tie that shit together so perfectly at the end. And I could completely see like, yeah, sir, yeah, you gotta go and like rescue your dad and all this. You get to the planet, okay, he's not there, he's been moved, or you lose, and then suddenly like he's shipped off somewhere else. And next thing you know, you're on a galaxy wide chase trying to find him, things like that. And there's just an entire series. And I could so easily see it mapped out, and it just I'd be all over it.
Son, I love these premises. I love the who done it premises or who's the traitor in the mist. Because I think that's one of the big reasons why Among Us got really big because it's had a lot of Among Us vibes because everybody's like pointing fingers with that. Like, who could it be? Who could it be? I don't know. And then
Yeah.
one of my favorite animes is called Roka, Brave of the Six Flowers. I
Mhm.
recommend it for everybody. It's a big who done it or not who done it, but Among Us kind of type feel. And I just
Okay.
love that storyline and the way they were able to kind of tie it all in to like the Star Wars lore and stuff like that. Oh, bro, my favorite episode. I could watch 6, 7 series of this, like hands down.
Yeah,
Like
and
same
like also
premise.
like going back to my days of watching Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid, like dude, I'm a sucker for a Rescue Quest series, man. Like I really like that's one of the tropes that hasn't worn thin on me yet. Like I don't know. I can really, really, really enjoy it, especially if they get me attached to the character, before they whisk them away or, capture them or whatever it is that happens. Yeah, I'd really like to see this continued somehow, some way.
For sure. And the coolest part to me was that the girl, she kind of felt like an original Star Wars character. Or not an original Star Wars character, but like the classic Star Wars character where like they have dumb luck, but they also have skill and they have just a likable personality. I'm so glad the main character was not that blue haired guy. He was so boring to me, bro.
Yeah.
I think that was his point, right?
Yeah, it was. It was his point that he felt like, okay, I'm supposed to be this, but he didn't. He hadn't earned it, and he wasn't able to do anything because he hadn't earned it.
And to piggyback off the girl, like I like that she wasn't an idiot with the lightsabers. Her dad's been building them for however long, and you see her in the beginning playing with it. Like she's comfortable around them, and so when she got into the action, she was able to hold her own a little. She wasn't as good as the rest of them because she's not as strong not as trained in the force as them. But you could still see that she was able to kind of hold her own and kind of roll with the punches a little, and I like that.
For sure. And one of the themes of Star Wars is like when somebody is strong in the Force, things just happen to go their way a little bit too. Like
Right.
when Luke is super strong in the Force, he's just able to do certain things or certain dice, I guess, roll his way. And so it made sense that she was kind of not unnecessarily strong, but it made sense that she was strong, and that was super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say real quick, because I like to nerd out on like the studios that did this. This is the other big studio in my opinion. They made Haiku. They also did Blood Plus, but probably the one that like the Western fans would know the most is they did Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is like, to me, this was one of the ones that on paper, when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the episode I got to see. Like, I was hyped for it. And like, this is the episode that lives up to it. I'm really glad that they put it in the middle, because if they had put this episode first instead of the duel, I think that my feelings on how the structure of the whole series went was wrong, right? Because you would have came out firing on all cylinders on probably like I said, there's a couple things that this episode did wrong, but I still love it. Like it's only nerdy, like only fucking extended universe people like me and Snow would even notice kind of things. So it's okay, right? Like fine. And everything else, they did it so right that I was like, I don't care about this shit. I'm gonna point it out when I see it, but I don't really care about it. But I feel like they nailed this. They understood, like this is the episode of like I understood the assignment, you know, like they fucking got it.
And that's all you can really ask for. This was the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. So, are you guys familiar with like any other shorts that are like this length or even like, I guess, shorter, anime wise or anything otherwise that really stuck with you?
The Pixar shorts. Those are my favorites. I love those.
For sure. What's the one that?
Like Bao, the one with the dumpling.
Yes.
That's my favorite Pixar short. That shit is incredible.
Yeah,
so
that was super
you mean
good.
at this length, right?
Yeah, at this length, it's shorter, because the one I'm going to talk about
short.
is like 3 minutes. But
yeah. So for me, it's kind of weird, but I don't know if you guys remember the Mortal Kombat like YouTube show. That one stuck with me, and it's part of the reason that they got a bunch of a bunch of Mortal Kombat stuff greenlit. Yeah, there's a whole series. They made it essentially for YouTube. They brought in like real martial artists and stuff. I think the episodes were like 15 to 20 minutes, something like that. Maybe they were 30 minutes at the longest, but they were good. They just gave you exactly the taste of Mortal Kombat you wanted and moved on to the next episode. Oh, perfect.
Is it called Mortal Kombat Legacy?
Yeah, I think that's it.
I need to look this up. I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Okay, I definitely got to watch that.
I think they moved it to HBO Max. I'm not positive. It might be a different one that's on HBO Max, but oh my god. When that shit came out, I was like, whoever owns this IP just made money off of this damn YouTube show, because good god.
For sure.
And if I can give another suggestion of one that actually later on like kind of evolved into a more traditional anime or show, Robi.
Yes.
I really
that original Robi short is still good.
Yes, the original Robi short, and then the entire first volume. That was some of the best animated action I'd ever seen in my life. The first time I came across.
That's facts.
I love Robi.
And they have a game with it too.
Yes.
Yeah.
A couple.
They have a lot of games. One of my favorite fighting games, BB Tag, has Robi characters. It's a crossover game. It has characters from a bunch of other like super weedy fighting games, but the draw was that it had Robi characters.
Speaking of that studio in particular, have you guys seen Genlock?
No, what's Genlock?
I have not
that's
yet.
The one with what's his name? Michael B. Jordan, right?
Yeah, it's a mecha show. Yeah,
it's
real good. It is real good,
and it's done by Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, Rooster Teeth.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up.
Really good. It's on HBO Max, the first season. So.
Oh, I'm definitely look
into that.
Yeah. Just get that. I didn't know what to expect when I went into it, and the next thing I knew, the show was over, and I was like, man. Holy crap.
See,
I can't believe I just marathon that.
When I first watched it, I thought Michael B. Jordan was going to be like how they do most of the name, like big name actors. Like they'll be in it for like the first 2 episodes and then their character gets killed off.
Just die like Chris Brown and fucking.
Yeah. I was surprised he's actually in it.
Yeah.
So
and he did really good. Yeah, he did really good too. His importance in the show is really good, and it doesn't overshadow the rest of the cast, which is also really good. Like an incredible cast throughout that whole show. It's pretty nuts.
Now, shout out to the weeb celebrities.
Right.
For sure. The one short I was super comparing. Well, I guess I wasn't comparing this to, but it was a short that left an impression on me. There are like 15 episodes of it, but there are only 3 minutes per episode, and really it's like 2 minutes because there's like a theme song and an ending song. It's called Love is Like a Cocktail, and it's basically like it's super like cheesy romance anime stuff, but it's about like this guy who's a bartender and his wife who she only opens up when she's drunk. So like he gives her a drink with dinner and she becomes a totally different like cutesy person or whatever. But the point I guess I'm trying to get across is they did a really good job in that show of getting the point across really quickly. Like they told some compelling stories in a really short amount of time. And I feel like that's so hard to do. Even with just a simple concept like people open up more when they're drunk.
Yeah.
And so I definitely recommend, you don't have to watch every episode because it does get a little bit redundant, but I definitely recommend watching an episode that's 3 minutes long or whatever.
I will definitely do that.
Where can we find it?
Drop off, so
For sure.
it was good talking to y'all.
Later, man.
Yep.
Be
Till
well.
next
Good
time.
catching up with you, Hungry, bro.
All right.
Yeah, my son Hungry is going to a basketball game. They're getting ready to go into their little playoff season. So that's where he's
All
at.
right, let's go.
Is there any other like series or medium that you guys would like to see anime studios do this type of thing with, or maybe even a full length film in this format?
Oh, easy. A reboot of the Teen Titans.
For sure.
That wouldn't be bad at all.
I'd enjoy that. I'd
And
really
Teen Titans was heavily anime influenced in the first place.
Correct.
So that definitely fits.
correct. Yes, that's why I'd love to see it rebooted because, like, hell, they basically already did a reboot with Young Justice, and as incredible as season 3 of Young Justice was, I'm like, okay, what if one of my favorite anime studios got their hands on this IP and really just got told to go to town on it and make it their own? I think we could wind up getting something incredible from that, even if it's something that feels done. I'd just rather that than like Justice League, which has been done like 100 times over already.
For sure. I think that if Mappa got their hands on like a Miles Morales who was older, that would be really cool. Because some of his stories are like really dark, but they don't feel dark because it's marveled up and whatnot, and people die and come back in Marvel. I guess that's true of anime too, but I feel like there's a lot of darker stories that could be explored with his character. But right now, his character's super young, so I don't think they want to go that route. But I'd love to see that.
So, okay. There's 2 different stories that kind of spring to mind. I've thought about these before, actually. A video game that I would like to see turned into an anime would be like Prince of Persia.
Ooh,
That'd be dope.
I like that.
Was that movie trash? I never watched it.
Yeah, a little bit.
It ain't great.
Um,
It ain't great.
Right.
a couple of comic books that I would like to see turned into anime. There's one that was like a set series that just wrapped up recently called 7 to Eternity. There's a comic called Monstrous that would make a really, really good anime. And then Daredevil, I think, would make a really good anime.
Oh, Daredevil will make a killer anime.
Mm-hmm.
There's already so many Japanese influences in Daredevil too.
Right, exactly.
And there are so many like incredible blind fighters in anime already, so that'd be
For
it's
sure.
not like a trope they
that
haven't
would
worked
be
with
crazy.
before. Yeah.
That's the best one I've heard.
Yeah, I like one of my favorite things in comics. I think it would come back to comics for me. But one of my favorite things in comics are the big crossover world events. So, I'd love to see a take on Civil War, the Marvel Civil War, preferably not the second one.
Right.
Let's keep it in the first. I'd love to see an anime take on Darkest Night, the Green Lantern crossover.
That wouldn't be bad.
Or even anything with Parallax would be really sick. I'm on board. Give me all the Yellow Lanterns. Give me all of it. But I think the one that I would personally like to see the most is it's the studio that worked on Visions. I would love to see Production IG take a swing at an X-Men story.
You beat me to it, you mother. Yeah, I was just about to come back to that. X-Men,
Preferably
like
House
what?
of M. or
House Fun would
Rise
be
of
nice.
Apocalypse would be sick. Either of those two, I'd love. But even if you just gave me their take on the origins of X-Men, so I could see like their take on the relationship between Magneto and Professor X, would be so sick. I just think they're so good at like telling a long form story of uh how characters develop with each other and like the communication between people. I would love that, especially them telling the story of like a group of people who have been alienated and essentially are an allegory for like racism in America.
Right,
Like
exactly.
I'm so curious how they would tackle it.
Yeah, if we could get like X-Men Evolution time period, like X-Men done by an anime studio, or if we got like New Mutants still like taking classes at the academy, I think both of those would be incredible.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Man, my mind is just racing thinking about all the X-Men stories I'd love to see, and all the X-Men characters that lend themselves to anime really
I'd
well.
really like to fucking see a
Right.
reboot of Evolution, man. That show was so fucking good. It does not get its credit.
I loved
I mean,
Evolution.
yeah, I liked Evolution a lot. I think the only downside to Evolution is that I was young enough to watch the original X-Men series, so when Evolution
Yeah,
came out, I was like,
right.
but I came to appreciate it later, right? Like I've watched it twice now because I watched it as a kid and tried to
Mhm.
stay into it, and I was always like, I don't like this show. And I watched it later, and I was like, okay, I get it. Like this actually was a really good show, and I definitely didn't give it the credit it deserved. Um, so I would love to see an anime take on that. That'd be sick.
Yeah,
That
I
would be
was
super
lucky. I
cool.
was too young for the original X-Men series, so I jumped right from 90s Spider-Man, which I'd love to see an anime studio like tackle that because there was a whole lot going on there. But I jumped straight from like 90s Spider-Man and what was the Spider-Man Unlimited, the one with like the
I was
webcam?
getting ready to
Jumps.
talk about Unlimited.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. I'd
dude.
love to see that one taken on by an anime studio. I jumped straight from those right into X-Men Evolution and Static Shock, and man, what a fucking time!
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
Batman Beyond too, dude.
Yes,
Like that was
yes,
in that
Batman
time period.
Beyond.
God, I mean, honestly, the revamp of some of those shows, like Unlimited, Batman Beyond, and X-Men Evolution, are like they don't get the credit that they deserve, I think, but
No.
they really did a fucking phenomenal job with trying to make those shows feel super modern. Because I think that was part of it too. Is like you want to make all these shows feel like the early 2000s. Like how
Mhm.
do you do it, right? I think all of them took a swing at it and pretty much nailed it with like very few exceptions, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I'm in the middle of like a Batman Beyond rewatch right now on HBO Max. I just finished like a full 4 seasons rewatch of Static Shock. I went back and I started doing like Batman animated series rewatch like a year or so ago. And dude, it's incredible like just how much these shows still hold up like 20 years later.
Yeah,
I'd love to
yeah,
see my boy Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, get something. It doesn't even have to be anime. I'd love to see him get some type of
Right.
love. I feel like he's the only one who doesn't. We never talk about him. But I feel like his power set was the coolest, and it definitely like
Yes.
informed Miles's power set a lot. So I'd love to see more of him. But yeah, I think honestly, this is probably a good place to wrap it up. We're rambling a little bit. I really appreciate you, Sauce and Snow and Robi, all three of you, for coming on.
No, thanks for having us.
yeah. It was
Yeah,
great.
for real.
And
Real quick
oh.
before we close, what's everybody's actual favorite episode? Because I know that we joked about the Ninth Jedi, but I'm curious what everybody's actual favorite episode is.
I
I'm
think
gonna
the
Mine
Ninth
is the
say-
Village
Jedi.
Bride.
Yes, everybody's favorite.
I think
Yeah.
so.
No, mine
Either
is
four are
the
tied.
Village Bride, if I had to choose.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I
The
Village
think
Village
Bride.
Bride
Four.
or Toby, one of the two.
Yeah, I think if it really comes down to it, it's a hard bet between the Ninth Jedi and Village Bride. I mean,
Mhm.
those two are. It was like I don't know if it's especially because their placement was like back to back, but to me, those two episodes are like this whole series is worth it. I don't care what you think about any of the other episodes, but for those two episodes, I would have done whatever it takes to get those two.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
4, 5, and 6, like Village Bride, Ninth Jedi, Toby, back to back to back to back. Like, I think that was like even for a series that I think is really, really good in general, I think that was just like an incredible run within it. That yeah, that would definitely be the reason why I would go back and rewatch if I did, which I probably will.
Yeah, I mean, and then straight into Elder and Lupin
Mhm.
Ocho. I mean, the last episode is the only one I don't really like. So I mean,
Mm.
I it's such an incredible run after Twins. Just so good. I mean, that's if that was just the series and that's all they had given us, I think I'd be okay with that, because that run is just insane.
For sure.
Yeah, I think definitely it's somewhere between. I gotta think on it because obviously I watched it right before we got on, and I haven't watched the last three, so I gotta watch those, and I gotta watch 4 back because I really liked 4. So I gotta watch that back. I gotta watch 5 back, and figure out which one between those two, or one of the ones that I haven't watched yet.
Yeah, I didn't give them their due, but real quick before we go, TOB1 is made by Science Saru, which they also did what's it called? Space Dandy, and they did Devilman Crybaby as a more recent reference.
Okay, yeah, I can see the influence there. Very nice.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite anime ever. If you guys listen to the first episode of this podcast, you guys will know that. But yeah, we're going to get out of here now. And in terms of the next episode, you guys, we are going to probably come out sometime before next week with a normal episode. We're going to do our catch up. We're going to figure out what we're going to watch movie wise next. We're thinking Paprika and then Perfect Blue, and looping that into how anime influences other, especially American media, because those movies were basically the blueprints for Inception and Black Swan, respectively. So that's probably what we're going to do, but we'll definitely let you guys know on the next episode. Other than that, we are out. Have a good one, guys.
Hey, take it easy.
Later, folks.
Late.